Welcome back, football fans, to another episode of our Team Outlook series right here on the Bite Size Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, John, joined today by our resident Titans expert, James Schmeitz. James, buddy, how you doing?
I'm good, man. It's not great in Titans world. It's been a rough few years since the 1 seed, but man, I'm doing good, man. Doing good. How about yourself?
Hanging in there. It's it's Kirk departure day,
Yeah,
and
post
so this is
12 hours post Kirk
we're 12
PK.
hours post Kirk, but this is what we've been waiting for, right? It's just we
Mm-hmm.
wanted, for months. I just wanted to know whether
An
he's back
answer,
or
right?
not.
Like just like what are we doing here?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. And now we have that direction. Couple zesty pickups today. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. We're
yeah.
rejuvenated. I'm excited for the unknown. Um, Speaking of unknown, you guys got a lot of unknown to be excited for.
Ooh.
It's
Yeah. There. I think you just said post like pre-show about it just being the world is our oyster right now. Titans got a ton of cap room and a ton of holes.
Yes.
New head coach, second year GM. This could go anywhere. We are far
Yep.
removed from the 1 seed Titans of just feels like it was an eternity ago. It was only 3 years ago. Yeah,
It
not that
feels
long
like
ago. 2 seasons ago.
it feels like Tannehill's got to be like 42. Like that's how long ago that
Oh, yeah. It
season
feels like it
feels.
was like early 2001 era.
It's
Like
just
it was that long ago. But I guess that playoff performance I've just I've eradicated from my memory completely. Like I never want to reference it again the rest of my life because it brought on
Mhm.
everything. It brought on the fiasco of the AJ Brown trade, the line
Yes.
problems, Taylor Lewan's retirement, Ben Jones's injuries, and I technically think he's retired, but I don't know. I actually don't know if he's retired or not. But it's brought on the whole complete mess that is now the Tennessee Titans.
Yep. And they're slowly kind of nudging that old guard out.
Yep.
But
Mm-hmm.
2023, there was still some semblance of that. So talk us
Yeah.
through a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, how that final season likely of the Tannehill Derrick Henry backfield, year one under this
Mm-hmm.
the current GM here, final year under Vrabel. Talk us through,
Mm-hmm.
the vibe from 2023, what you take
Yeah.
away positively, and some of the things that dragged you guys down
Mhm.
to where we are now.
Yeah. I hate that Trevor was right when we talked about it preseason. Like Trev said, it was time to tear it down and rebuild it. Titans doubled down and tried to salvage one more playoff run out of Vrabel, and it was just the year of the should have been rebuild. Now, luckily for them, it kind of went that way. The line was so bad they couldn't win games. Tannehill got hurt again, so they were forced to play Levis. And would he start 9 games? I believe he might have missed. Well, he missed some towards the end, so you got a decent look at him, but not great. The problem being you couldn't get a full evaluation of him because your line was so absolutely terrible that he was running for his life. The last 2 years, the left tackles Titans have rolled out. Dennis Daly 2 years ago, and then Andre Dillard this last year have been the worst graded ones in the league by far and away. You had a center that wasn't very good. Right guard rotated wasn't great, and right tackle was bad news too. So you had 4 of your 5 spots was junk. Uh, Skoronski at left guard had an up and down season. I think that a lot has to do with was it week 2 or 3 an emergency appendectomy that messed his whole season up. It took him a while to come back from that. So I still am very high on him. He was the 11th pick for him last year. D Hop had a good year for him. Like I was very excited about that signing and it panned out. But then your first round pick from that you got from the AJ Brown trade has been a complete and utter disaster. Can't stay on the field, all kinds of injuries, concussions again this year. He's had turf toe. He's had anything under the sun. You name it, he's had it. When he's been on the field, he's been no good. So, I mean, we're going to talk future or like young guys on this team. He isn't even on the list. Like, I don't know what you can expect from Treylon Burks anymore. Chigoziem Okonkwo was started off really, really slow. He was a huge A lot of people were predicting a huge breakout campaign. It didn't happen, but he did finish the last probably 6, 7, 8 weeks really strong. So there's hope there. Then defensively, cornerback was a mess again. They trade Kevin Byard. I think they fleeced the Eagles on that one. They actually got something out of nothing there. Linebackers were not very good. And then Harold Landry took a while to come back from his ACL tear. So your defensive line, once they got healthy, they were good. They just weren't the force they were in the playoff game a few years ago. And then just the icing on the cake is the block punt against the Colts because they don't shift the line that tears your all-pros, was going to be all-pros ACL right in half. Just horrific injury. Just a bumbled season completely for Tennessee. And it led to Vrabel's ultimate firing and a resetting of the guard here.
Right. It's first of all, respect Jack Gibbons.
I love Jack Gibbons, by the way. I did. I like Jack Gibbons.
No. Not a franchise cornerstone by any means, but got a shout out a Gopher when I hear about one.
He was good when he was healthy. He struggled. He couldn't stay healthy either.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I heard as well. You obviously got D-Hop back. That's a great thing to have nailed down, especially when you're trying to evaluate a Will Levis. And this is a fine time to pull this up, actually, too. It'll hide our faces, but
that's probably good. For me, it is. I mean, you
talk
got that
about
nice hair.
And I can't, of course, now I can't pull it up here.
The brain.
But this will pull up the young core here, and essentially around Levis going forward. These are the players you expect to see on the roster for, through 2026.
Yep.
Or so at the minimum for a lot of these guys. That's kind of how I project the age range now. I put this together right before the league year turned over. So these ages are essentially all these should be +1 for example, this will be Will Levis's age 25 season or 20.
Yep.
25 season. The way it'll be on these books, but just keep that in mind anyway. Harold Landry going to be 28, so technically wouldn't qualify anymore. But I did all of these prior to.
I counted him. Yeah, that's right. I did all those prior to. So, yeah, I mean, it's bleak is quite the understatement for young talent on this roster. Levis, you didn't even ask me on the talent. But you nailed this correctly.
It's a big reload.
Yeah, unproven dash good is the best way to put Levis. Obviously, he had an explosive debut, 4 touchdowns, and that's his first game. But it's just an extremely hard season to evaluate him. He got hit so much in the backfield and was just chased around so often that, I mean, he finished the season injured too. You couldn't get a full evaluation, and you have to rebuild a lot this year. You got to come out of this year. The number one goal in 2024 is to come out of the season and know whether you've got the guy or not. I think they do, but we don't know yet. You don't know. And that's the number one key.
And I think so, and that in kind of that breath, would you say too, then it's probably most important to address as much of the offensive needs in this offseason, if you're going to lean one way or the other, just to get the best evaluation chamber, or environment to evaluate Will Levis. So with these two, there's only two top 100 picks, the 7 and 38.
Yeah, don't have a third this year.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, the Titans don't have a third this year, and
and so
I think go ahead. You're good.
When you think about those picks, obviously Skoronski at 12 last year, something like that anyway, and he looked great. I think the way this tackle class looks, you might be able to get some fair capital trading out of pick 7, and still get a really high level tackle. But I've seen Amarius Mimed mocked as high as 7 to the Titans. If Olu-Fashanu's there, Joe Alt might be tackle options.
Yeah.
Troy Fatanu, Talis
Mhm.
Fuaga.
Trading out of that first pick makes me so.
There are a lot of first round talents.
Mhm.
I feel like that's kind of the way to go.
So,
that's
trading
kind of
out
the
of
way to
that
go. But go ahead when you were
first pick
talking about the first pick there.
Yeah. Trading out of that first pick scares me so much just because the Titans have so few, like you look at this list and there's so few guys that you're like, oh, these could be future all pros, future stars. But like the number 1 pick and the number 2 pick, the first and second rounder in some order have to be tackle receiver. Has to be, period. Like they have a mega need at cornerback too, but we'll figure that one out later.
Yeah, and I think, for what it's worth, I think when you look at this class and you evaluate where it's strongest, it's kind of the perfect. It's a perfect wide receiver is really, really stacked. Tackle is really, really stacked. I think if you go tackle early at 7, maybe you get a quarterback needy team. Maybe you get like Vegas
Very
or
well
Denver,
could, yes.
Wanting to trade up. You can move down to 12, 13, and it's not crazy. And you can still get a day 1 starter at tackle. And then 38 feels like a perfect spot to grab a guy like Xavier Worthy or Troy Fry. There's just not going to be enough teams to take all these first round receivers. Like there might be, depending on who you ask, these scouts, they might have 6 to 7, 8 first round graded receivers that there probably just won't be slots for in the first. So 38 feels like a perfect spot to snag one of those guys potentially. And then if you get starters at both those spots, you're right. All of a sudden you can kind of a little more objectively see what you've got with Will Levis, and that's got to be the number 1 priority for the entire 2024 season, right? Because that's going to determine the direction.
Yeah, you have to, like, that is it. Like you got to come into next offseason knowing,
and when you're missing the third.
Like, give me Joe Alt or give me death. That's what I say with 7.
Yeah, I like it. And the way it looks now too, like all teams may have already identified their quarterback before 7. We might see 4 quarterbacks go in the top 4. With the way trade ups are going to work, it might just be all the way off the board. So you might just kind of be sitting there with a good tackle either way, without even that really temptation of trading back. But it might be a nice way to recoup some assets, draft capital wise, and sort of kickstart the rebuild, depending on how they feel about the board as it sits at 7. Who their favorite tackle is, that sort of thing. Let's see. So let's jump to. We kind of talked draft. I'm going to pull a young quarterback up a little bit here, and let's just kind of situation a little bit. Now, when we're thinking about what a good situation for him will be, you've got to have the number 1 pass catcher in this league. You've got that in DeAndre Hopkins. You hope he's back and as effective this year. You bring in Tony Pollard in addition to Tyjae Spears, who looked good last year. So the run game should be solid. Skoronski back healthy. Maybe you see that next step from Chig. I think it's really just, let's finish this line out and get a respectable middle of the road offensive line, if you can, by 2024, and then just add weapons. Sort of let the chips fall where they may on defense. Maybe you're grabbing a couple defenders in free agency. Already filled a hole with Chidobe Awuzie.
Love it. Love him.
Maybe the defense is a little bit more piecemeal. Yeah, that should be good. But I don't think they're too far away from that, reasonable environment for Will Levis, actually, when you break
Mhm.
it down. They'll have to hit on all these free agent and draft acquisitions. Um, but it's not completely out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I think if you can get a left
Let's
tackle in the
see.
draft, and then like you said, they signed Quisenberry today at center, which is a big get. Like I think this you locked your center down. Now you gotta figure out the right side of the line. It's probably a free agency kind of piecemeal it together. But then just like you said, like you hope D Hop comes back and is still effective and is a weapon. You got Pollard and Tajay out of the backfield now. Hopefully, Chig takes another jump. You pray, like, give me a prayer that Treylon's going to be anything, but I don't have much hope. I think your goal is to get as much out of this offense as you can, and then like you can figure the defense out. Like you got to get a cornerback, you got to get some linebackers. Like there are some holes, but the importance is the offense. And Brian Callahan's an offensive guy coming from the Bengals, so that's what you're going to focus on there. So let's focus it all there and figure that side of the ball out for sure.
Yep, and Callahan, 5 years was he the
Mm-hmm.
offensive coordinator under well, it wasn't for all five, but yeah, offensive coordinator under Zach Taylor for a lot of that tenure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you should expect a McVay like scheme coming over with
Mm-hmm.
Brian Callahan, and you've seen quarterbacks like Matt Stafford, to whom Will Levis had some comps, just the way uh, that tight pocket
Mm-hmm.
and the way he spins it, the velocity he gets. Um, these big arm gunslinger quarterbacks are the types that McVay
Mm-hmm.
has done a really good job with. Even what was it? 3 day notice Baker.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
He got a pretty good game
made him
out of
into a
him,
$100 million quarterback.
and I do really like. Yeah, exactly. So I do like that fit. Um, and you'll probably see some of these other moves give us a little bit more of a hint at how
Mm-hmm.
they want to approach it. The Lloyd Cushenberry signing feels similar to what we were talking about pre-show. What McVay's doing in LA, getting these big beefy
Mm-hmm.
guards, signing to big money, likely kicking Steve Avila into center. And Lloyd Cushenberry's a big bowling ball in there as well. Not quite the size of
Mm-hmm.
Steve Avila, but could be a similar idea there. It might be, back to that power punch you in the mouth run game and a bunch of big play action bombs from Will
Give
Levis,
it to
which
me.
could be
Give it to
a
me.
solid formula. You know, could be a solid formula. And I was kind of a Levis guy coming out, as you recall. I had some just
You had
unhinged
the
edits of him
gif.
in
You
Vikings
had
uniforms.
yeah. You had that
Um,
unhinged that the one with the flames behind him.
the Flames,
Yeah, you the one. I'll
yeah,
never forget you send it.
yeah,
You love that one.
yeah. That got all over the place. Um, in that
That one
draft
was.
stream.
Yes. Yeah. In the stream we did. Yeah, you had that one. That one,
Yep.
and you sent it right before you thought he was going to get drafted. That one was great.
Yeah, super classic. Well, as far as looking forward for this team now, though, too, you've got some stars on the defensive side who could kind of buoy the unit a little bit, like
Mm-hmm.
Simmons and Landry, when healthy, can certainly
Yep.
raise your floor as a defense. Um, in having those cornerstones can help kind of fill out the rest of the group with like mid-level starters and get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a place where if you're talking about a contention window, like a Will Levis rookie contract contention window, um, that's where you might talk about exploring trades for studs.
Mm-hmm.
When you again on that rookie contract, say you kind of fill the offense out mostly in the draft this offseason, you feel good about that, getting to fuck them picks load, use all that salary cap and bring some studs over the defensive side. So I you can convince yourself of a path to success for just about any team at any given time in the NFL. But I do kind of like the direction the Titans could go with the new regime in place. They do kind of have a lot of a lot of autonomy over where they go. They're not really boxed in with anybody on any contract on the roster or any certain position group, really, so they can take this whatever direction they want to, which I think is the best thing to give to a new regime. If you want to give them that trust, it's almost best to give them that clean slate, like we've been talking about in Minnesota. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, new GM, this is now his third offseason. He's just now like gotten all the way cleaned up Rick Spielman's bad money from void years and extensions that maybe shouldn't have been given. So now he's finally kind of cleaned his own slate, and now I expect him to have a relatively long leash going forward. But if you start that way, it's the best way to quickly evaluate your leadership group. So I do really like the spot they're in that regard. Since it's that day, this, by the way, is being recorded on Monday at about 8 Central on the first day of legal tampering. So we've got some deals that have been announced. We've touched on a few of them. But why don't we just talk through some of the signings that the Titans have made this year, how you feel like they might project into the roster this upcoming season.
Yeah. So as of right now, they've got three of them.
Yep.
Go right ahead. You're leading me into it. You're a little delayed, so I'm going to follow your suit.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, let's start with Tony Pollard. We talked about that a little bit already, but that duo now with he and Tyjae Spears, 3 years, $24 million. What's your gut reaction there?
Oh, it's a little bit of money, Johnny boy. That's a 24 mil, kind of a lot. It's interesting. They're going for pass catching backs, guys that can run in, pass catch, obviously getting away from Derrick Henry, the power game they've had for years. Very similar game between him and Tyjae. I like them together. You can do a lot of things with both of them out there. Just 24 mil to me seemed like, especially with all the talk of the running back market and how it didn't exist, et cetera,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we did see, and it's not that far under like what we saw Saquon get, which was like almost 13 a year. It was like 12 something. Who again, much younger, more talented. But it must have been kind of again, how we talked about it. It feels like it's going to be a point of emphasis to run the football this season, despite moving on from Derrick Henry. They're going to want to keep that identity.
Yep. Yep, I would agree. Could be a little. It won't be the Derrick Henry run it 35 times a game.
Technical difficulties.
But yeah, it'll be interesting. I like Tony Pollard, like you said, pre-injury 2 years ago. Tony Pollard was awesome in a split backfield.
Yes. Yep. So hopefully, you can get some semblance of that back, and we'll see what structure looks like there. Maybe it's a pretty clear runway off of the contract after year 2 or something like that. Those first announced figures are a little fake. It's all about guarantee structure and everything. So we'll see what that looks like. But we also got Chidobe Awuzie coming with, well, granted, he's on the opposite side of the ball, but following Brian Callahan from Cincy, and 3 years, 36 for Awuzie, I think. Is that correct?
That sounds right. Yeah.
So decent corner money. What do you think of that move kind of right off the bat as a day one get?
So it was 3 years, 25.5 mil. So it's a little lower than you said. I love it. We need 2 cornerbacks. We don't have any. Our Sean Murphy Bunting went to Arizona today. he was just all right anyway. We don't have any corners, so I'm okay with it. We got to find it. Like, we got to find one more. But I'm a huge fan. Locker room guys, what it sounds like, big time, was a big time part of Cincinnati's rebuild when they went through it. I'm in.
Yeah, wow, that's a lot lower than I thought. That's awesome. I mean, that's a huge steal for Awuzie there. 3 years, 25. Wow. Um, and you might have seen like maybe there weren't other teams willing to commit those years, and it was a security thing because it feels like he could have gotten close, like a 1 year 10 if he wanted to do one. I mean, I don't know. Cornerbacks, the whole defensive back market's a little out of whack right now, with just the volume of guys that are being cut. Xavier Howard at corner, all the safeties that are being let go, Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, Kevin Byard, Eddie Jackson. Like it's depressed the market a little bit. So these numbers have been catching me off guard. It's like all of it, 25.5. Holy crap. It's like all of it went to the trenches. And you see Lloyd Cushenberry, 4 years, 50. Some of these defensive line contracts have been crazy. Christian Wilkins blew a lot of people's expectations out of the water, resetting the non-Chris Jones, Aaron Donald defensive tackle market. But yeah, I think that's a steal for Awuzie. I really love that value. I thought it was actually 12 mil per, but I must have been thinking of a different deal. And then Lloyd Cushenberry coming over from Denver to secure the middle of that line, the center position, next to Peter Skoronski. We'll see how they fill out the rest of the line, but I think that's a really good step in the right direction.
Yeah, the Cushenberry signing was like one of the top guys on my list of guys they could go after, and get him with Bill Callahan on that line there, coaching him, man, that's a big one. And finally, we have two guys in the middle. Like at least Skoronski is not looking to his left, going, "Oh boy, this is bad," and looking to his right, going, "Oh boy, this is bad." Like baby steps. I love that signing. That's my favorite one so far for Tennessee. I love that signing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big one I wanted for the Vikings. It was one of my favorite free agents on the market, frankly. And I think they're going to. I think it's a good sign, and it points in the right direction when you just are like, okay, what's this front office going to do now? Got some. I think they started with 75 million cap space at the beginning, early this morning. When you're thinking of, okay, what's this front office going to do with this spending power and with these assets? I think you're seeing that kind of point in the right direction with these signings, particularly Cushenberry. Pollard and Awuzie might be a little bit more stopgap. Those aren't obviously super long-term options, but you've got to field the team either way. You need 22 starters. And so I really like the direction so far. What's your kind of just vibe around how the front office is operating? And what's your kind of approval rating, I suppose, so far?
Oh man, you're gonna put me on the spot. Like, I told you pre-show, like I can't make a full
Callahan hire.
Great. So I really liked the Callahan hire. I like an offensive-minded head coach. Like I was a big Vrabel guy. I didn't think he should go, but our offense was stuck in the mud in the 90s. I'm okay with it. Like I hope Callahan and Carthon are on the same page. I think they are. I like that we're building offensively. We got some holes, we still need a cornerback. We need a whole right side of the line. We need a receiver bad. If I had to go just off of today, I'd probably a B. I really like the Cushenberry signing. I like Awuzie. I do really like Pollard. I'm a little confused because all they did is talked about all season about how much they love Tajay Spears, and now they're splitting the backfield again. But we'll see. Like there's still some stuff to go here. Like in my dream scenario, dream world, which I do not think will absolutely happen because I think they're going to want too much. I would love for them to trade for T. Higgins, but I just think it cost them an arm and a leg that just we can't afford as a franchise right now.
I would really like that too as a
Mm-hmm.
destination for him. Tennessee finally going out and getting a receiver in their prime. Um, but I mean those two jump ball guys for a growing and developing quarterback, T.
Mm-hmm.
Higgins and D Hop, that's a pretty good
So fun.
baseline. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you wonder what their asking price is going to be. We're talking pre-show, maybe maybe a low first, high second.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they do that. I don't think I'd be opposed to it. 38,
I would give up
38
38 in a
might do it.
heartbeat.
You're talking taking receiver at 38 and you just flip it for T. Higgins. It seems like pretty good
Yeah.
business to me, depending on what that extension looks like.
Yeah, 100%. And like you talked about the quarterback, they've got Levis on a 4-year quarterback deal, like 3 more years left. Like you can pay the receiver. Like if you want to, I would flip 38 in a heartbeat for T. Higgins. Bring it on. Give him the extension. You got the money, but I don't know what that
Yep.
asking. Like you says, it a late
Yeah, no, that
first.
would be awesome. That would be
I don't
awesome. And then
know.
he'd be right
We
on
just
that
don't know.
timeline.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I don't know
Yep.
what their asking price is. Who knows?
Exactly. All right, man. Well, like I said, I like the direction.
Mm-hmm.
I like the amount of
There's hope.
flexibility they have right now from a decision-making standpoint. Um, and there's hope, and there's no way to say
Mm-hmm.
definitively this isn't the right leadership group to get them there.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to just kind of take things as they come. And yeah, I feel confident, and I think Carthen's done
Mm-hmm.
a pretty good job cleaning things up. I like the Callahan hire. There's so much we don't know so far, so I'm just really excited to touch back with you around
Mm-hmm.
around camp when there's a full 53 that we can talk through,
Yep.
because there's a lot of ways they can go. So it should be a fun off season for them.
Mm-hmm.
Any other parting thoughts on kind of this free agency window we're in the middle of?
I don't have any guys on my list of like I would love them. All the receivers dried up pretty quick, but the receiver market dried up fast, so it's going to have to be draft unless they want to overpay for Calvin Ridley or trade for T. Very interested to see what they do on the right side of the line. That's the next big one to me. Like cornerback and right side of the line is where I'm watching now.
Yep, I would love. I know Damian Lewis played on the left side in Seattle, but that would be a really cool get. Just the way they're building the line there, like next to Cushenberry, I think that'd be a super fun fit. But yeah, I'm just really curious to see what they do. Thanks so much for jumping on with me and
Appreciate you, bud.
and doing this. It's always fun to talk through this kind of stuff, and hopefully we can come back to it and kind of review what they actually went and did, and get some finality to it. But I like the direction so far. Sounds like you're kind of on board. There's nothing to really be too over the moon about or too head in the dirt about yet. But there's hope. There's novelty to how things are moving. Young quarterback, young coach. It's a great spot to be in. I'm hoping I join you there in a couple months.
I appreciate you having me, man. Really do. Thank
All
you
right,
for having
buddy.
me.
Well,
We'll
sounds
talk
good. This
again
has
about it.
been another episode. Yes, sir. Team Outlook here on the Bite Size Sports Network. Stay with us the rest of the offseason. We'll have a ton of crap coming at you. Hopefully, a couple more of these in the near future. We'll have big time draft coverage. We'll have a bunch of YouTube shorts covering the free agent signings, as many of them as we can get to. And so stick around. We've got a ton of other stuff going on the channel. Before I let you go, James, let the people know where else they can find you and your work right here on Bite Size Sports.
So you can catch me every Wednesday at 9:00 on our sister station Dweeb talking Star Wars on Han Shot First. Then you can catch me every Thursday at 9 p.m. on The Bounce, our NBA show, talking all things NBA and March Madness coming up here. We'll have a March Madness show here after the Selection Sunday as well. So, John, thank you for having me, brother. I really appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate you guys.